Chairman Powell, I'd like to commend you again for your swift response to the pandemic. The Federal Reserve was the fastest acting part of the federal response, thanks to your foresight and leadership. As we've discussed previously, Chair Powell, there is a clear distinction between what is fiscal policy and within the purview of Congress, and what is monetary policy and within the purview of the Fed. I appreciate your work to protect the independence of the Fed, and I know that you'll continue to do so. We have politicians that are talking down our economy, even the Speaker of the House saying, quote, the economic crisis is accelerating, end quote. And they're saying this specifically to pass their spending package. Our economy is on the mend, despite what politicians parrot as their preferred narrative. The first phase of the storm is passing. Now we have to deal with the damage COVID wrought, and it did indeed bring significant damage. And the virus, the shutdowns, schools not reopening, the lack of childcare, all have had serious consequences. These are maladies which the Fed cannot fix. In fact, Congress doesn't seem to have the power to do it either. It's governors in the states they lead who are showing the path forward. Money alone will not fix it. Vaccines, testing, treatment, and data-driven public health decisions will have a larger impact than either monetary policy or fiscal policy at this stage of the game. What's called for is targeted temporary relief directly related to COVID, not a typical Keynesian stimulus bill in the name of COVID relief. To be clear, we know there are many Americans still suffering. Behind every statistic is a family that is still reeling from this crisis. For a year now, we have been working to reach those in need. As you've said, Chairman Powell, this is a tale of two recoveries. Employment for the top quartile of wage earners has fallen by 4%, while the bottom quartile has dropped by a full 17%. So let's dig deeper here. More than 4 million Americans have been unemployed for almost a year. In the restaurant industry alone, 1 out of 6 businesses have been shuttered since last March. And while the CBO projects the unemployment rate, which currently stands at 6.2%, which by the way is lower than the unemployment rate under the first 5.5 years of President Obama, that unemployment rate will continue to fall this year and to reach a pre-pandemic size of 2022 under the current, without any other additional fiscal action. There are millions of Americans, families juggling work, childcare, and paying and just praying that their schools will finally reopen. Yes, personal incomes have actually increased at the end of last year, and the personal savings rate stands at over 13%, a level not seen in 4 decades. Yet childcare costs have jumped by almost 50% since last year. A year ago, women outnumbered men in the workforce. And since the pandemic, 2.5 million women have left the workforce. Given the nature of the shutdowns, this temporary aid that we provided last year, and the Fed's swift actions, they prevented the worst from possible outcomes from occurring in this crisis. Now we have to deal with the divide, the uneven recovery that has occurred. And as we exit this pandemic, we need to find innovative solutions that support finding employment for these Americans and bring those who exit the labor force completely. We need to bring them back in. And the Fed must also focus on regulatory flexibility and provide flexibility to financial markets to ensure that we have a less choppy recovery. And indeed, Chairman Powell, there are new challenges and choppy waters ahead. And I'm grateful for your steady hand and pragmatic leadership at the Federal Reserve and for our economy and for our government. Thanks so much, and I yield back.